Do you guys play golf? You play golf? Well, I heard about this rabbi. When in the middle of the winter, the day was amazing outside. So he decided to skip Shabbat services. So he called his team and said, look, I'm not feeling well. I said, sure, we'll cover up. So actually he took his car and drove to a golf course in another city. Okay, he starts the game, first shot, and a gust of wind picked up the ball for an extra 100 yards for a 450 yards hole-in-one. And then an angel asked God, he said, why would you do that? He's breaking the Shabbat and you reward him? God laughs, like, who is it going to tell? I want to talk to you today about Joseph the Jew. Joseph the Jew. Okay? And I have to say, the inspiration came a little bit yesterday. Remember, I was talking to Shelly Chochinov. By the way, this is a reminder. Be careful what you say to me or you may end in my sermon. Right? In fact, I ordered a coffee mug that says exactly that. You'll see. If you come to visit my office, it will say they are careful or you may end my sermon. So, about the Hanukkah is over, right? And then, last night we were lighting the Shabbat candles. And the way we do it for Hanukkah, the way we do it for Shabbat is very different. Because for Hanukkah, we have a specific commandment that is to light the Hanukkah if you cannot put it outside your home, like the way they do it in Israel, at least you have to put it close to a window so everybody can see it from the outside, right? But I realize that, for example, the Shabbat candles, they don't have such commandment. We don't have to put the Shabbat candles next to a window so everybody can see it from the outside. Same, I was thinking, I'm going to make a mental list quickly, what other things fall into that category. So, for example, on Pesach, we don't have any kind of mitzvah to put a piece of matzah outside, right? Or to blow the shofar outside so everybody can hear it. It doesn't work that way, but for Hanukkah, we do have this specific commandment that is very unique, to light the Hanukkah either outside or at least close to a window so everybody can see it. And the rabbi said the reason why we do this is because we have to publicize the miracle of Hanukkah. Why do we have to make it so public? Well, in order to understand that, we have to understand what happened before the first Hanukkah was celebrated, right? When the Jewish people were living under the Greeks' rule, one of the things that they couldn't do was to practice Judaism. The Greeks didn't want the Jewish people to practice their religion. They had no problem, by the way, with intellectual engagement with the Bible. In fact, the Greeks were the first non-Jewish civilization who mass-produced the Bible. But they didn't intend that to be a source of inspiration for Jewish practice, just another source of intellectual discussion. But that's it. So that they wanted the Jews to approach to the Torah the same way. But the Jews said, no, we have a set of mitzvot, a set of commandments that we have to fulfill. But they couldn't. Or they had to suffer the consequences. That's why, by the way, we play with the dreidel. Remember the story of the dreidel in Hanukkah? It was so we pretend that we are playing dreidel, but in reality, they were studying Torah. But they have to do it in hidden. So what happened is, comes Hanukkah, and the Maccabim said, enough. Enough is enough. We don't have to continue being Jews inside the house to pretend to pray the dreidel when we study Torah. It's time for us to say to the world, we are Jewish, we have our own traditions, and we are very proud of these traditions. And that's why the Hanukkah is placed, if possible, outside of the house, or if not, close to windows, so everybody can see from the outside that you are Jewish. And that's the difference between Hanukkah and the Shabbat candles. The Shabbat candles remind us of other important things, but not necessarily of that aspect of our Jewish practice. Okay? And it kind of remind me a little bit this mishap that happened with the mayor of the city, that his intentions were good to put the big Hanukkah inside to protect it, but I guess he didn't know that for us was that's terrible, because Hanukkah is all about putting it outside, no matter what. So anyway, he apologized. We accept in these days that nobody apologizes to us. I guess an apology is taken, okay? But it's a reminder of how important it is to be Jews in the public, right? Now, comes to this week's Parsha, and we have something that is very, very similar. Because I guess when we are in a situation where we feel danger or insecurity, one of the reactions that we could have is to try to hide our Judaism, okay? And this is not just about Hanukkah now. Joseph, he was sold as a slave to Egypt, right? Eventually, remember the ups and downs. He became the master of the house of Potiphar. He was thrown to jail after that. And now in this week's Parsha, we find him in jail. And remember, he interpreted the dreams of the baker and the butler. And what happened is, 2 years after that, the Pharaoh had a dream. And then nobody could interpret this dream to the Pharaoh. And then the butler, all of a sudden, after 2 years, remembered Joseph. And what is interesting is the way the butler tells about Joseph to the Pharaoh. Says, there is a Jewish man in jail. Why would the Torah use that word? Who cares that he was Hebrew back in those days? The word Jew wasn't coined yet back in the day, but you understand what I'm saying. It was clear where Joseph was from and what kind of lifestyle he had, the behavior he had. It was very clear that he was an Israelite. He was a Hebrew. He made it very clear, to the point that the butler said to Pharaoh, the first thing, there is Jewish man in jail. And I was saying how amazing it is that if there is something that the Torah has to say about Joseph, is that his Judaism, so to speak, was always out there so people could easily recognize him as a Jew. And I realized that he probably was very insecure. He probably was afraid for his life in a new country. He didn't know much of what's going to happen. And even in that situation, he never had to hide, or he never wanted to hide where he came from. And I realized that we can learn both from Hanukkah, now that Hanukkah is over, and we can also learn from Joseph. That because we are going through times where we feel afraid, we feel insecure, we don't know what is going to happen. And when that happens to a Jew, everywhere in history, everywhere around the world, we have sometimes two ways to behave. Number one, we hide. We try to continue with our Judaism. We are proud Jews, but we do it at home. It's nobody business. We don't want to make it public that we are Jewish and that we follow Jewish practice. Option number two is like the Maccabim or like Joseph, that whenever we feel afraid, whenever we feel insecure, whenever we don't know what to do, is when we have to be even more proud of being Jewish, being even more visible than before, to strengthen our Judaism and to make it public to the world, to make a statement that we are Jewish, we are proud of our religion, we are proud of our tradition. And if there is a problem, as Jews, we support each other. So, if there is something that we have to take from Hanukkah coming into Shabbat, is the fact that the Maccabim taught us that the times to hide that we are Jewish are over. that we have to be strong and to be Jewish in public. And also from Yosef, we have to be recognized as Jews. So if there is a message that I want to give you for the week to come, is it's important to learn the story of the Maccabees and to learn the story of Yosef. But it's even more important to become them. Shabbat Shalom.